We are Hoshiryo, and then I'm an energy healer, Kaiko, and this is
Hello, my name is Fernando, and I am a psychologist. And this is us again in a new episode. And let's begin.
yeah. So we wanted to talk about how to be the creator of your own story.
I like the image of your creative impulse is like a seed that eventually will find its way to find the sun. It will crack brick, it will crack cement, and it will find its way out to reach the sun. I think creativity is in itself part of our nature. What I
Mm,
mean with this is that it is actually against nature not to recognize your creative energy.
mm, mm. So it's very natural for us to feel a certain way, which is the often be the case of invitation to take certain action without not knowing why you are, maybe you have an idea of what you are creating when you are taking action, but often we end up with, something that is slightly different or very different from what we thought.
Life is always inviting us to create because life itself is a creation. And as they say, as it is in as it is in the big things, so it is in the small things. If I look at life as a creation, we are a creation of that energy of life.
Mm.
And in that way, we ourselves, it's like almost like an hologram. We repeat that mechanism of creating and continue creating.
We are the outcome of such creative activity. It's interesting when I focus my creativity, the impulse, in such a way, I felt like I'm kind of fulfilling like
Mm.
something like larger than who I am or what I am. And maybe some people address it as a god or creator or what have you, but it feels like it's much bigger than me or, this existence of me. I just wanted to share this point of view that's been shared by a woman in Japan. Uh,
Hmm.
suddenly managed to connect to her right brain. We are
Mm.
often being told that we depend on our left brain mode, more like in the civilization, and people often live from the left brain, and which is important, but we somehow fail to balance out the, how much we connect to which brain. And then nowadays, like this woman who is tuning into her right brain more, um, kind of reminds me of that experience of you, almost like tuning into your creative flow is like finding, the reception in the air. And then she said what happened was like something like she knows the information often comes very quickly. Like, for example, in a very mundane setting, she has a daughter. So she goes into a supermarket, and then in her perception, toothbrush stands out for whatever reasons. But as she knows, when that happens, it's a sign. So she decides to grab a toothbrush, although she wasn't going to buy it. But a couple of hours after, when her daughter comes home, she goes like, "Oh, I need a toothbrush tomorrow at school." So here you go. And this kind of exchange, I think this is something to do with this creativity. Like, she is creating that reality where, this toothbrush is going to be used in some way. And when this happens on a regular basis, probably it will allow us to create something more complicated, more interesting, or more dynamic in a way.
One of the things, going back to your example about, the image of a toothbrush,
Mm,
appearing. I find also that the language of creativity is through symbols, through images,
mm,
through something that you experience in your mind, but you somehow intuitively know.
mm.
Very rarely I've heard that it comes in like
Description.
words. It usually comes in symbolism, and it takes me a little bit back into, for example, the Jungian approach. It's like the archetypes, the symbolism, the collective consciousness, the how everybody is in some ways that we're starting to understand. Everybody is connected.
Mm,
This living flow, I'll just say that this living flow, calling it creativity, is just waiting for the right reception, that
mm.
somebody picks it up
To be
and like, I got it. Because this is something that I've experienced, especially when in school. When somebody says, "Oh, who knows the answer to this question?" Oh, and then the answer, like, "Oh, I know that answer. I know the answer."
uh,
And then somebody else jumps, and it's
uh-huh.
like, "Oh, it's," and everybody says like, "Yes, that was the answer," and you say, "I knew that.
I should.
Oh, why didn't I share that? I should have raised my hand." So I think it's almost like a little bit of that. We all have that impulse, let me call it that calling, that sense of wanting to do something. But
I,
then there's like, should I, shouldn't I? Like, what if I make a mistake? What if they think I'm crazy? What if I'm judged? No, I'd rather not. And then suddenly somebody else just simply jumps, and it was it. I mean, it's gonna be his or her answer from their own perspective, from their own shade, and using their own palette of colors. But it's
yeah.
something similar.
But
The elements were there. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Oh.
in that case, I feel more like these people, they are showing the rest of the world. Basically, that means me, because everybody is a different form of me. And then that
Mhm.
me who was brave enough to act on their impulses and then, not afraid of making mistakes or anything. They just went outright and then said the answer. And then they are showing us to how to act on your, intuition or impulses or,
Intuition.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's yeah. So that we can one day act on it in time.
I find also, as they say, a lot of people get their creativity when they're taking a shower.
I get that because when you are taking shower or bath or something, you feel very open and relaxed. So it's
Exactly.
very easy to tune in.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I find it a way of taking care of our creativity is also to find those spaces and where I can feel safe, I can feel grounded.
Mm.
And one of them is when you're taking a shower. Things come because you're available, you're open, and you are more receptive, more in tune to, again, this collective flow that it's already there. So everything simply cycles and transforms. What I think artists do is
Mm.
that they use the elements that are
Mm.
already there
Mm.
to transform and to make something out of it, because
Yeah.
they are available for you to create something, because your true nature is to be a creative person.
Mm.
And the only thing that I think is stops us from that is all this belief system. A lot of our school system made out of telling kids to follow rules. So they kill the creativity of a lot of
You
kids, and many adults did survive.
I told you before we recorded about this physicist. He was talking
Yeah.
about education. Like, we should educate us in the schools to enhance what you came out with. So your own characteristic, your quality, something you have come into this world. We need to educate children ourselves to enhance that skill rather than giving the same information to everybody and then measure them. Like some of them may be good at, literature, some of them may be good at art, some of them may be good at science, but not really good at, literature or something like that. But
Yes.
obviously, if you are good at mathematics, that's how you came in. Give them more. Not don't give them what they are not good at, so
Yes.
that we can share this world because I'm good at art, and then you may be good with literature, and then you may be good with sports or something like that, so that we can, compensate each other, you know. But
Hmm.
for a long, long time on this in this civilization, we've been educating humans by giving the same information, believing that's how we need to do it. And then those things create all these belief systems that's like, namely like I'm not good enough, that's gonna stop you from becoming truly who you are.
What can somebody do to cultivate, to take care of their creativity? Yeah, that wants to tune into the creative energy, but also somebody that feels they lost their sense of self. What's your thoughts on that?
I feel like whenever we feel like we don't understand who we are anymore, type of things, we all been there, right? That's
Yes.
the message itself that, you need to review what you were doing, how you were doing, and where you are. So it's just a sign again. And then when that happens, we need to start understanding what we are trying to tell us, not telling to the world. It's like what we are doing, what we are saying, the energy for real. What are we actually trying to tell me, tell us? And then like little by little, like a change, making amendments in your, the possibly daily routine could be changing the job, but changing the way you work. When something like that happens, I often, because I am on the contrary, I always make a plunge and then I always feel regret. I should have done a bit more slower. No, but I'm like that because I have lots of energy. I can cope with it.
Mm.
With this experience in mind, my advice to other people is often like be kind to yourself. Just make a little bits and pieces, like little by little. Don't make a plunge like me. And so because I learned by making the plunge, so I always allow people to ask themselves. So let's listen to what you are actually saying. Like, for example, when they say, like, when somebody says, I'm not happy at work and I don't feel anything in it, and then, but I cannot quit my job now because I have a mortgage and then things like that. It was this kind of things. I, I, I help people to listen to truly what are they telling you? What is it actually saying? Is it actually saying you cannot quit the job, or is it no, no, no? Like, we spoke about distilling our thoughts and emotions,
Hmm.
and then it's
Hmm.
something like that. What is it really? What is it really? And then when it comes down to a very basic, simple, candid a word or the form, and often we find the solution in a softer manner instead
Hmm.
of like me making a plunge.
No, yes, it's like it, like this personal inquiry, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Personal inquiry. Like
yeah.
ask, like really take the time to ask yourself. Um, I mean, some people will know that that's not working for them, but some people don't even know that. If
But
you figure out that something is not, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no,
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to say, this self-inquiry, the type of
Uh-huh.
question, like, who are we? Who am I? I don't
Okay.
understand me anymore. This is a reaction that your creativity is coming back, according to this, the artist way, the book. So,
Yes. Go for it. Yeah. No, and that's the conversation, it's like to share the authors, the books, and you're right. It's that calling, that it's the opportunity to do something creative. One of the other conversations that I heard with Rick Rubin was, sometimes not necessarily having more
mm,
me, it's the best. Sometimes, an exercise is having two colors, just with two or three colors create something,
mm,
versus having a full palette of things and having all the resources. It can actually block you also.
mm,
So, and in having few resources can actually wake up your creativity, and you can optimally use those resources to
mm.
create something with it.
Okay.
The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind is a story about a young man in a kid in Africa. He used, well, I can't remember what's the name, but he used very few things
Mm,
to pump water,
okay.
and to give water to that village.
Mm,
So he had very few elements, but he had that impulse. He had that inner drive to
uh-huh.
create something. He confronted a lot of people that were blocking him. He had to find resources and really convince people about this was good for them. But this is what I mean, he was very in tune with, there was a need for that, and he was able to make it happen, from space to having very few resources. I think humankind has, it's in our nature,
Mm.
to use our creativity in this way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, like, as when you said, it's when we are limited with resources, our creativity can flourish more. It feels like, sometimes we unintentionally push ourselves to the corner, feeling really difficult in the situation, whether that is a job or the society or the family or the relationships. And then which makes us feel like, okay, I have no choice but to do this or something like that, which is really as a form of our somewhere in ourselves asking us to come up with a very creative plan, often be the case of out of box type of action. So it's very everything makes sense, there is no coincidence. You if you may be feeling like, oh, I don't like where I am right now, whether that is a job or
Hmm.
or relationship or the career or anything, um that has a meaning, but that doesn't necessarily mean like a straightforward message. It means, it is pushing you to do something like an action to get certain results. And so that result is not what you are seeing from that situation often.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so the takeaway, what would be
What comes up?
for this is what about distilling our whatever the feelings that comes out, whether that is a fear, whether that is like a passion to create something. You can ask yourself, like, what am I actually saying by saying this, feeling this, thinking about this?
Life has already offered us all the elements
Mm-hmm.
for us to simply use them and co-create with life. I
Uh-huh.
would use the word co-create
Mm,
because the elements are there,
mm,
and it is just for us to take action
mm,
and create something with it.
mm,
Life is waiting for you to co-create with it. Life itself is bigger, magnanimously
mm,
bigger than any fear, than any second guessing, than anybody that told you, oh, this or that. Life itself is much bigger, and life is offering you
mm,
that possibility. The next one that I would like to add is like dreams. When if you work with dreams, or if you kind of like want to remember your dreams, you try to write them down. And I find that is very useful to write down whenever good ideas find you, because they
mm,
find you, and then you, oh, like, this is a great idea, and then you forget,
yeah.
and then somebody else does it. So it's writing down these ideas when they come, even if you use them, or you never use them, but maybe years later, you know like, oh, this is a good idea, and then you wrote that down maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So you have a unique mm, way. You have a unique touch, and that's something that nobody else has.
So that's all from us for this episode. Thank you for tuning to us, and keep creating, right?
Yes, stay curious,
Yeah.
keep creating, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.